You feel it before you can prove it. It's a subtle shift in the air when you walk into a room, a compliment that feels like it's wrapped in sandpaper, a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. It's the silence that hangs a second too long after you share good news. You just got the promotion, launched the business, hit your fitness goal, found a loving partner. You've climbed your mountain, and when you look down, you expect to see faces looking up in admiration. Instead, you see shadows. And in those shadows, you see the glint of knives. This isn't your imagination. This isn't you being paranoid. This is a fundamental psychological law of human nature that no one ever dares to speak aloud. Your success doesn't just inspire people, it also activates their deepest insecurities, their most venomous resentments. It forces them to look at their own lives, their own compromises, their own fears, and for many, that reflection is unbearable. So instead of dealing with their own reflection, they decide to shatter your mirror. This video is not about spotting haters. This goes far deeper than petty jealousy. We are going to dissect the brutal psychological mechanism behind the high achiever's shadow. We are going to journey into the work of Carl Jung, into the dark corners of the human psyche, to understand precisely why your greatest accomplishments will inevitably create your most insidious secret enemies. These aren't strangers on the internet. These are people in your life, your friend, your colleague, your family member. The ones who say they love you, the ones who claim to be on your team. By the end of this, you will no longer be confused by their subtle sabotage or wounded by their backhanded praise. You will be equipped with a new level of emotional intelligence, a shield for your energy, and a clear understanding of the 4 unspoken laws that govern this toxic dynamic. This is your manual for navigating the treacherous terrain of success. This is how you learn to recognize the hidden enemies your light creates, not so you can fight them, but so you can rise so far above them that their shadows can no longer touch you. Let's begin. The first and perhaps most painful reason your success breeds resentment is what I call the law of the unlived life. Every single person walks around with a ghost. It's the ghost of the life they could have lived. The business they were too scared to start, the book they never wrote, the relationship they didn't have the courage to pursue, the healthy body they gave up on. This ghost is a silent passenger in their soul, a constant nagging reminder of their own abandoned potential. For the most part, people learn to live with this ghost. They numb it with routine, with distraction, with quiet acceptance. They tell themselves their safe path was the smart one. And then you come along. Your success is not just your success. To them, it is the living, breathing embodiment of their ghost. When you post about your thriving business, you are not just sharing your victory. You are holding up a mirror to the business they never launched. When you talk about your transformative travels, you are not just sharing pictures. You are screaming at them about the world they were too afraid to see. Your discipline reminds them of their laziness. Your courage reminds them of their cowardice. Your happiness reminds them of their quiet desperation. You are the person who actually did what they only ever dreamed of doing. You are the living proof that it was possible. And that is an excruciating truth to face. Because if you could do it, it means they could have too. The only thing that stood in their way was them, their fear, their excuses, their lack of will. It is infinitely easier for them to resent you than it is for them to confront their own failure of nerve. Hating you is a defense mechanism. It allows them to change the narrative. The story is no longer, "I was too scared to try." The story becomes, "Oh, people like them get lucky," or "they must have cut corners," or "they're obsessed and have no life." Projecting negativity onto you allows them to soothe the deep, burning wound of their own unlived life. Think about 2 old friends, James and Leo. They grew up together, both brilliant artists. After college, James took a stable graphic design job at a large corporation. The pay was good, the work was predictable. He told himself it was the responsible choice. Leo, on the other hand, starved. He took odd jobs, lived in a tiny apartment, and poured every spare moment and every spare dollar into his real passion, painting. For years, James would look at Leo with a kind of pity. A poor Leo, he'd think, still chasing that impossible dream. Then it happened. Leo got noticed. A gallery showing, a rave review, another showing. Suddenly, Leo's paintings were selling for 5, then 6 figures. He was traveling the world, featured in magazines. He was living the life they both had sketched out in notebooks as teenagers. James was one of the first people Leo called, and James said all the right things. "I'm so proud of you, man. I always knew you had it in you." But then the poison started to seep out. When they'd meet up, James would make subtle digs. "Must be nice not having to deal with office politics and real deadlines," he'd say, framing Leo's hard-won freedom as a form of childish escape. When Leo bought a new studio, James commented, "Wow. I guess selling out pays well these days, huh?" Insinuating Leo's success was a betrayal of his artistic purity. What was James really saying? He was screaming, "You remind me of the cowardice I see in my own mirror every morning. Your success invalidates the safe life I chose. I convinced myself that my path was the smart one and yours was foolish. Now reality has proven me wrong and I cannot bear it. So I must tear you down. I must frame your success as a flaw, as luck, as a sellout, because the only other option is to admit that I sold myself out for a steady paycheck and a dental plan." The secret enemy isn't born from a desire to have what you have. It's born from the agony of knowing they could have had it too, if only they'd had your guts. So what is the actionable step here? First, you must develop what I call predator detection. Learn to hear what's underneath the words. When someone gives you a backhanded compliment, don't just register the compliment, register the backhand. Don't get angry, just observe. Acknowledge it for what it is, a flare sent up from the sinking ship of their unlived life. It has nothing to do with you. It is their ghost crying out. Second, you must create compassionate distance. You don't have to cut these people off in a dramatic blaze of glory, but you must stop giving them front row seats to your life. Stop sharing your biggest wins with those who greet them with a pained smile. Your sacred victories deserve a sacred audience. Share them with people who are also in the arena, people who know what it costs to fight for a dream. Let the others read about it on the news. Your energy is your most precious resource. Stop plugging it into sockets that drain you. This isn't about punishing them, it's about protecting yourself and honoring your journey. The higher you climb, the thinner the air gets, and the more selective you must be about who shares that air with you. This leads us to the second and most psychologically profound law, the law of the projected shadow. To understand this, we must go into the world of Carl Jung. Jung proposed that every individual has a shadow self. The shadow is the unconscious part of our personality, the place where we shove everything we don't like about ourselves. It's our repressed anger, our secret ambitions, our greed, our vulnerabilities, our unacceptable desires. We all have a shadow. We spend most of our lives pretending we don't, carefully crafting a persona, the polite, socially acceptable mask we show the world. A high achiever, by definition, is someone who has been forced to confront and utilize parts of their shadow. To succeed in a competitive world, you cannot be purely nice. You must be ambitious. You must be disciplined, which can look like ruthlessness to others. You must be focused, which can be perceived as selfishness. You must be willing to say no to protect your time, which feels like rejection to others. You have, consciously or unconsciously, integrated some of these darker, more powerful traits to fuel your climb. Here is the terrifying part. When other people who have not done this work see you, they don't just see your success. They see their own disowned shadow projected onto you. Let me be brutally clear. When someone who has repressed their own ambition calls you obsessed or a workaholic, they are not actually judging you. They are judging the part of themselves that secretly longs to be that committed, a part they have labeled as bad and locked away in their psychic basement. Your success rattles the door of that basement. When someone who avoids conflict at all costs calls you aggressive or intimidating for setting a boundary, they are projecting their own disowned power onto you. They can't stand to see you wield the very strength they refuse to cultivate in themselves. This is the origin of the most confusing and painful attacks. The people who accuse you of being the very thing you are not. You, a person who built your company on collaboration, are called a dictate by a resentful employee. You, who meticulously saved and sacrificed for years, are called flashy and irresponsible by a relative who lives on credit. They are not seeing you. They are fighting a war with their own shadow, and you have simply become the battlefield. Imagine a woman, Sarah, who grew up in a family that prized humility and staying small above all else. Ambition was a dirty word. Wanting more was seen as greedy. Sarah, however, had a fire in her. She went to law school, excelled, and joined a competitive firm. She worked relentlessly, not just for money, but because she loved the intellectual challenge, the fight. She becomes the youngest partner in the firm's history. She goes home for the holidays, expecting her family to be proud. Instead, she's met with a strange chill. Her mother says things like, "We're just so worried you're losing yourself in that job." Her brother jokes, "Don't forget about the little people now that you're a big-shot lawyer." They ask no questions about her cases or her passion for the law. Instead, they scrutinize her new car, her clothes. They whisper that she's changed, that she's become hard. Sarah is heartbroken and confused. She hasn't changed. She is still the same person, just more fully realized. But her family cannot see that. For them, ambition is a shadow trait. It is dark, ugly, and something to be suppressed. In their world, to be a good person is to be humble, unassuming, and content with your lot. By becoming a successful, powerful lawyer, Sarah has become the living embodiment of everything they have rejected in themselves. When they call her hard, they are speaking to the hard ambition within themselves that they have judged and condemned. They are trying to shame her back into the box they have built for themselves, because her freedom from that box exposes it as a prison of their own making. The actionable step here is a profound one. You must do your own shadow work. The reason their projections stick to you, the reason their words wound you, is because there is a small part of you that fears they are right. There's a part of you that still believes the programming that ambition is selfish, that discipline is obsessive, that setting boundaries is mean. You must sit down with yourself, take out a journal, ask the hard questions. What parts of my ambition do I still feel guilty about? What parts of my success do I feel I have to apologize for? Do I own my power or do I shy away from it? You must look your own shadow in the eye and integrate. You must come to terms with the fact that to build anything great, you must be formidable. You must say, yes, I am ambitious, I am relentless, I am disciplined. These are not flaws. They are the tools I use to build my life. They are aspects of my power, and I will not apologize for them. When you fully own your own shadow, their projections can no longer find a hook. Their words will slide off you like water off glass, because you will know with unshakable certainty that their accusations are not a reflection of you, but a confession about themselves. The third insidious force at play is the law of the disrupted narrative. Human beings are storytellers. We don't just exist in relationships, we exist in narratives. In every social circle, family, friends, workplace, everyone is assigned a character and a role. There's the responsible one, the funny one, the hot mess, the wise mentor, the struggling artist. These roles create a predictable, comfortable ecosystem. People know how to interact with you based on the role you play. Your massive success is a plot twist they did not approve. You have broken the narrative. When you were the struggling entrepreneur, your friends in stable jobs could play the role of the supportive, wise confidant. They could offer you advice, buy you a drink, and feel good about themselves. Their position was secure and superior. When you were the chubby friend always starting a new diet, your other friends could feel secure in their own bodies. When you were single and lamenting your dating life, your coupled friends could feel a sense of smug stability. But then you did it. Your business exploded. You lost the weight and got stronger than all of them. You found a deep, fulfilling love. You didn't just change your circumstances, you changed your character in their story, and you did it without their permission. You are no longer the one who needs advice. You are now the one they secretly want advice from. You are no longer the one who makes them feel secure by comparison. You are the one who makes them feel insecure. You have disrupted the entire social dynamic. They don't know what their role is anymore, and this loss of status and control is deeply unsettling. This is why you see such bizarre behavior. The friends who try to pull you back into your old role, they'll bring up embarrassing stories from your past, joking about when you were broke or clumsy. This isn't just a joke. It's an unconscious attempt to reset the narrative, to remind you and everyone else of the old you that they were comfortable with. They will minimize your success. Oh, you were just in the right place at the right time. This isn't just jealousy, it's an attempt to make your achievement seem like a fluke, a temporary deviation from the story, so that the old, comfortable narrative can be restored. Consider a group of college friends. In this group, Mike was always good time Mike. The party guy, the one who was fun but a bit of a screw-up. He scraped through his classes, bounced between jobs after graduation, and was always the one with the wildest stories of misadventure. The others, who settled into careers and marriages, loved Mike. He made them feel grounded and mature. He was their court jester. Then, at 29, Mike hit a wall. He got sober. He went back to school, discovered a passion for coding, and with the same obsessive energy he once applied to partying, he applied to building a software company. At 35, he sold it for a life-changing amount of money. He meets up with his old friends, expecting a celebration. Instead, the atmosphere is awkward. They try the old jokes, but they don't land. They talk about their mortgages and their kids' soccer practice, and Mike doesn't have much to add. He tries to talk about a new project he's funding, a nonprofit, but their eyes glaze over. One of them finally says, "Man, I miss the old Mike. Remember that time you tried to jump into the campus fountain and got arrested?" Everyone laughs, but Mike feels a chill. They don't miss the old Mike. They miss the role he played. They miss being the responsible ones. His transformation has robbed them of their comfortable status in the group's narrative. The new Mike, sober, wealthy, and purposeful, doesn't have a place in their story. So instead of rewriting the story to include this new, evolved character, they try to shove him back into the old costume. When that fails, the friendship slowly, painfully dissolves. They didn't hate Mike, they hated the death of the story they had all co-written. The actionable insight here is stark but liberating. You must be willing to outgrow relationships. Your personal evolution is not a democratic process. It does not require a committee's approval. As you change, you will inevitably render some of your old relationships obsolete. This is not a failure, it is a sign of growth. You must grieve the loss of these old narratives and the friends who were attached to them. It is sad, but you cannot stunt your own growth to keep a story alive that you no longer belong in. Your responsibility is to your own potential, to the person you are becoming. The practical step is to start consciously building your Chapter 2 circle. Seek out people who meet you where you are now, not where you were. Find other people who have also disrupted their own narratives. Find mentors who are 20 years ahead of you and peers who are in the trenches with you right now. These people won't be threatened by your growth because they are on a similar trajectory. They will celebrate your plot twists because they are excited to see where the story goes. You have to stop trying to get your old cast to act in your new movie. It's time to hold auditions for a new one. Finally, we arrive at the fourth and most primal reason for this secret animosity: the law of perceived scarcity. Deep in our evolutionary wiring is a primitive lizard brain belief that life is a zero-sum game. There's only so much food, so much territory, so much status, so much light in the sky. If you get a bigger piece of the pie, it must mean there is less for me. This is the scarcity mindset. While our modern world is one of potential abundance, many people are still operating on this ancient, faulty software. To someone trapped in this mindset, your success is a direct personal loss. When you get the promotion, they don't think, wow, that's great for them, it shows what's possible here. They think, that's the spot I could have had, they took it from me. When your business gets a glowing feature in a local publication, they don't think, how wonderful for a local entrepreneur. They think, that's attention and limelight that my business isn't getting. They see success not as a fire that can warm many, but as a single spotlight, and you are hogging it. This is the root of the most direct and vicious forms of sabotage. The colleague who forgets to pass on a crucial piece of information before your big presentation. The friend who spreads a subtle rumor about how you cheated to get where you are. The competitor who leaves fake negative reviews about your product. These actions are not born of simple envy. They are born of a desperate, primal fear of being left in the dark. In their worldview, there is a finite amount of success, and by claiming yours, you have diminished their potential share. They are not just trying to bring you down, they are trying to reclaim the light they believe you have stolen. Think of a small, tight-knit community of yoga instructors. One instructor, Chloe, decides to innovate. She invests in professional branding, creates a high-quality online course, and starts marketing herself beyond the local town. Her classes become packed, and her online program becomes a significant source of income. She's not just a local instructor anymore, she's building an empire. The other instructors who have been doing the same thing for 15 years initially seem supportive. But soon, the whispers start. She's so commercial now, it's not about the yoga anymore, it's about the money. She's stealing all the students. Her online stuff is probably just watered-down nonsense. One of them, who used to be her close friend, starts running special discount classes at the exact same time as Chloe's most popular class in a direct attempt to cannibalize her student base. She's not thinking about collaboration or abundance. She's not thinking, Chloe's success raises the profile of yoga in our town, which benefits all of us. She's thinking, there are 100 yoga students in this town. Chloe now has 70 of them. She took them from me. I must get them back. It's a fight for survival in her mind, a battle over scarce resources. Chloe's success is not an inspiration, it is an existential threat. The action you must take is to become a fierce protector of your assets, and I don't just mean your money. Protect your ideas, protect your reputation, protect your energy. Stop being naive. Stop operating with a policy of open borders while others are building walls and sharpening spears. This does not mean becoming paranoid or miserly. It means being discerning. In business, it means having strong contracts and non-disclosure agreements. It means not sharing your game-changing ideas over casual coffee with a competitor. In your personal life, it means recognizing that not everyone deserves to know your next move. Move in silence. Let your results do the talking. And most importantly, cultivate an abundance mindset tribe. Actively seek out and build relationships with people who believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. People who will freely share information, make introductions, and celebrate your wins as if they were their own, because they know that your success in no way diminishes theirs. The scarcity mindset is a contagion. The abundance mindset is a force multiplier. Your primary task is to quarantine yourself from the former and immerse yourself in the latter. You cannot afford the psychic drag of those who believe your light makes their world darker. So here we are. We've journeyed through the dark and confusing landscape of success and the enemies it creates. We've seen that it's not just jealousy, but a complex brew of deep psychological forces. The law of the unlived life, where your success is a painful mirror to their regrets. The law of the projected shadow, where they fight their own demons on the battlefield of your reputation. The law of the disrupted narrative, where your growth shatters their comfortable story about you. And the law of perceived scarcity, where they believe your win is their loss. Looking at this, it would be easy to feel cynical. To feel that the price of ambition is a life of lonely paranoia. But that is the wrong conclusion. This knowledge is not a curse. It is a map. It is a source of profound power. You can now stop personalizing the attacks. You can stop wondering, what did I do wrong? And start understanding, I am seeing a shadow projection. Or this person is struggling with their unlived life. This understanding depersonalizes the venom. It turns a wound into data. It allows you to protect your heart and your focus. The envy and secret animosity you encounter are not a signal to stop climbing. They are not a sign that you are doing something wrong. They are an inevitable tax on ambition. They are the friction that proves you are in motion. A stationary object creates no waves. If you are not upsetting anyone, you are not making enough of an impact. Your call to action is this: embrace it. Embrace the fact that your light will cast shadows. Do the work, understand your own shadow so their projections don't stick. Grieve the relationships you must outgrow as you shatter old narratives. Build your tribe of fellow creators who operate from abundance. And most of all, stop dimming your own light in a pathetic attempt to make people who are committed to living in the dark more comfortable. That is the ultimate act of self-sabotage. Your purpose is not to be liked by everyone. Your purpose is to become the fullest, most powerful, most realized version of yourself. The secret enemies, the frenemies, the whispers in the shadows, they are merely mile markers on that road. They are proof that you are leaving the crowd behind. So let them whisper, let them resent. You have a mountain to climb, and the view from the top is worth the price of the journey. Keep climbing.